Right, hey guys, what's going on? We got Comic Book Radio back tonight. Yeah. I'm your host, Publishing Pete Cimetti, and I hope you guys are in for the show tonight. It's about an hour or so. About an hour. You guys can join in and call in the show. That's the whole gist of it. The link is pinned to the top of the chat. You guys dictate the topics. So essentially, I got a couple of things to talk about, but that's put on the back burner for whenever you guys come on here and you want to discuss whatever's on your mind, it pertaining, of course, to the world of comics. Now, I want to preface this by saying one thing, and I don't mind having the conversation. I don't mind having the conversation if the mainstream is on your mind or some kind of drama is on your mind or whatever it may be, but I'd rather not. I'd rather not have that conversation, but I will have that conversation if that is what is on your mind. But I just want you guys to know that I do not enjoy such conversations, unfortunately, but I will do my best to honor the fact that you would like to discuss that. I'd much rather discuss what's going on in terms of what are you enjoying in comics, any projects that you're excited about, any creators out there that you want to give a shout out to, anything in particular you might have a question about in terms of comics, in terms of what's going on, or stuff that you see in terms of the creative process, anything along those lines. But like I said, you guys dictate the flow of the chat, and I'm here to have that conversation with you. But I do not plan on bringing up certain things. It's just, life is short. All right. So with that said, let's get to the chat. Let's talk to you guys. Let's see what's up. Let's see what's going on. We got Ben Johnson here. What's up, Ben? Thank you for the super sticker. I can see it in the YouTube chat. It's a 1-up. Oh, it's interesting. I wish they would show that by now. That's the one thing. StreamYard's always making little improvements here and there, but alas, we can never see the super stickers on the screen. Oh, one other thing, too, before we start. I must play some music. There it is. Let's see. Ben says, oh, yeah, time to get my Publishing Pete fix. Oh, thank you, man. Thank you for joining. Seer of all that is obvious says, here's another clue for you all. The walrus was Paul. Statistical Zero says, good evening, everyone. What's up, Stato? Happy birthday to you, Statistical Zero, as well. I saw that on the Twitter. Hope you're having a really good one, and thank you for spending some time with us on your birthday. Blue Teddy Narration says, evening, everyone. Evening. Hope you're doing good, too. Ashen Jackal is here. What's up, Ashen Jackal? Hope you're doing good. Eric House says, good evening, Pete and chat. Y'all are great. I agree. The chat is definitely great. Jay Lee, what's up? Hope you're doing well as well. Stato says, inundate this man with King Cryptid questions. We will certainly touch upon King Cryptid. That's one of the many things I want to talk about tonight, along with a couple other things. If you guys don't have any topics to discuss, whether in the chat or joining the show, which is the preference. Randy Scribner, I hope you're doing good, Randy. Thank you for joining us tonight. And Stato is correcting his spelling. Inundate with the U. Bretsky the Great says, salute chat, salute Pete. Hey, salute Bretsky. Ashen says, you quietly backed King Cryptid again for the special. Oh, appreciate that. Yeah, we had that new moon special yesterday. We're going to have a special item up for just 24 hours every new moon and full moon during the first 60 days of the campaign. So there's a 30-day period, then we extend the campaign another 30, and that'll be probably ending towards July? Around the end of July. So and then we're going to go in demand. And we're going to keep mixing things up as we go along. The first 30, a couple perks will come down. Second 30, a couple perks will go up. And then in demand, same thing. A couple perks will come down and a couple will go up for in demand. And then we'll have a couple different things throughout here and there. The campaign's got some legs to it. So while we work, get the books completed, get the books to the printer, get everything set, there'll still be a couple different things throughout the course of that campaign as we're in demand that we're going to put a new perk here and there for you during the time in which we get around to such things. William C., what's up? Says, good evening, Alterna World. Good evening, William C. Comics Gator says, absolutely loving Billy Tucci. The omnibus is fantastic. Is that out? Do you have that? Fantastic. Caution Zone. Big Ben Henderson says, sup, chat? What's up, Big Ben? We got, is it Gelada or Gelada Comics? Either way, hello. Hope you're doing well. Let's see. Question says, any good sci-fi comics I'm missing? I don't know. Everybody, any good sci-fi comics out there? If you guys are into them, please let them know, and we can give those a shout out. William is saying hello to Stato and Ashen. Jay Lee says, first, congrats on the campaigns. Books have been amazing. Second, the ads were well worth it, brought in a lot of new sales. Third book, number 3, is now in correction, so it's coming out in August. Hey, congrats. That's awesome, and I'm glad to hear that the campaign, the ads have been good to you. Really appreciate the support, Jay. And I'm glad you're enjoying the books, too, obviously. Let's see, King Cryptid, link anyone for Comics Gator. That would be, I'll put that in the chat. It's easy peasy. It's kingcryptid.com. So let me make sure that we got the HTTP stuff in here. Otherwise, the chat on YouTube does not recognize the link for some reason. So yeah, you can go straight to kingcryptid.com, and that'll help you out. We make it really nice on this one for you. You don't need to go to Indiegogo and think, oh, what is it? It's kingcryptid.com. Takes you right there. Let's see, Gelada says, I'm going to be pronouncing it that way until I hear otherwise. It says, been awakening to how much cool indie comics are happening lately. Really awesome. I agree. It's really great to see so many projects out there, and not just to see so many projects, but to also see just so many books being made and put into the hands of the readers. I love seeing that. Whether they're, of course, I love them a little more when they're Alterna books in the hands of the readers, but I do love seeing all the great indie things out there going on. William says, that's to Jay Lee. Allison McGlone, what's up, Allison? Hope you're doing well. Good to see you in the chat. We got William C. saying, talking to Ash and Jackal. And Gelada says, well, indie isn't the word, perhaps. Oh, well, I guess it's it's the word. Independent. That's all indie is short for. You can say independent comics, but, it's a couple more syllables. But indie comics is correct. They're all independent. Anything that is not licensed, not of the mainstream, not the corporate type characters that are made, and you can enjoy those things, but anything that is along those lines would not necessarily be considered indie. So you can still have an indie level publisher, a small press level publisher that has licensed books, but those licensed books aren't necessarily viewed as indie per se. So there's a lot of but a lot of people consider anything that's not Marvel and DC to be indie, but that's not necessarily true. So if we're splitting hairs, indie, independent, you own it, that kind of a thing. Perhaps if you do own the property and you're hiring people to work on it for you, but either way, it would not have to do with like a licensed book, or at this point, doesn't it feel like the bigger publishers in a way are almost like licensing their own books because it's certainly not their main focus. It hasn't been for quite some time, but anything along those lines that you could consider independent would be indie. Let's see, Gelada says, exact word, but you get what I mean. Let's see here. Ben Henderson asks, can I buy an advertising page and just put my face on it? Boom. Let's discuss. Well, there's nothing to discuss. If you wish to do that, you can do that. You can go to, right now we have the King Cryptid campaign. There's a couple of full page advertisers left, and then a couple of inside front and inside back cover spots left too. If you wish to do such a thing, you can do that. It's up to you. Brensky the Great, thanks for becoming a new member. Thank you indeed. You just joined the Comic Book Lounge. Appreciate you being around. You can use the emojis and all that good stuff, and really appreciate you joining. Thank you. Let's see. Gelada says, I have a sci-fi comic. Oh, you have a sci-fi comic. Very nice. Well, mention the title. Mention the title. Or come on the show and talk to me about it. 10-8 Comics is because the show could be promotional as well. Again, the topic, anything comic related you guys would like to discuss. You got me for an hour. You got me for an hour on Comic Book Radio. 10-8 says, glad to be here for the smooth sounds tossed into the universe by DJ Pete from WKRP. Next up, Dr. Johnny Fever. Oh, we lost him a couple of months ago, right? He passed away. But awesome. Thank you so much, 10-8. Really appreciate it. Adam Warlock says, live free or die. Indeed. Words to live by. 10-8 says, late next year, I'll have one for you. Oh, are you talking about an ad or a comic? I believe possibly you're talking about a comic, right? 10-8? Let's see. Gelada said, I meant not Marvel or DC, more or less. Ah, gotcha. Okay, now I get you. William C. says, I bought a page ad for King Cryptid #1, but I don't really have anything to sell. Look for a weird image. One could say it will be cryptic. Well, I guess that's the comic to put it in, isn't it? Ja Rose says, morning Pete and morning chat. And thank you, William C. as well, for being an advertiser and a supporter on the campaign. Really appreciate it. Xgal, what's up? Hope you're doing well. And Ben is entertained by the prospect of purchasing that full page ad and says, I just might. Well, I mean, you can. You're welcome to do such a thing. It's considered all ages. As long as it's an all ages appropriate type ad, which means no strong language or nudity or over the top gore or anything like that. As long as it's that, you can advertise it. I mean, when you're purchasing the space, you might as well make the most out of it and put a website or something, but you can absolutely do that. Let's see here. William Quinton, what's up? Says, hey, Pete. Hey, William, hope you're doing good. Let's see. Adam Warlock says, well, this is an obvious choice, but Trespasser is an excellent sci-fi comic. It indeed is, and it has the art of Christian Rossi, who also has the art on King Cryptid #1. And has also, of course, been doing Voidwalker. Voidwalker 1 through 4 currently out right now, and rumor has it that they are making more. So hopefully sooner rather than later. Let's see, we have a guest here. All right, fantastic. Now I get to ask you in person, is it Gelada or Gelada? Or is it something completely different?
Hello?
Hello.
Hi. Yeah, however you feel like saying it, it's okay. I think of it in Spanish a little bit helada.
Helada. Okay,
helada.
See, I like that. See? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's not how I want to say it. It's how it should be said, and I want to learn that. So now I have Helada Comics. Oh, very nice.
Sure. No, sure, but that's the way it works. Words can be pronounced in different languages, so there's no inherent. Helada. I think I don't know what's the origin of the word, so I don't know which way would be the exact word. Yeah.
Did you come up with the word? Is it a created, made up word?
It's a monkey. It's a kind of monkey, a baboon.
Oh.
Yeah. It's a nickname I figured out when I was a little kid, and I didn't want to change it because it felt like betraying my past self,
Wow.
That sort of thing.
Okay, nice. Well, I'm learning something, which is good.
I wondered if it was somewhat appropriate to shield a tiny bit, because this is a comic book stream, and I have a comic book. I don't know if that's okay.
Yeah, it was 100%. Absolutely. That's what this is for.
Well, I have two comic books, actually, independent comic books.
Oh, okay, great. Are you able to share a screen or a camera and show us?
Let me see how that works. Share. Okay, I'm sort of new to this. I'm sorry.
Oh, no
Okay,
problem
let me
at all.
see here. I can add files from my computer. It says. Let me try that.
All right. Let's see. I'm gonna check out your website. If you can't share, maybe I can.
That's great. Thank you.
Let's see. Helada.com. All right. So I have it up here. Want me to share it for you? Would that make it easier?
That's okay. Yeah, if you can share it, yeah, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. And I'll put the link here in the chat too, so you guys in the chat can check it out as well. And let's see what we got. Let's see. Helada.com. All right. Sequential art beyond nihilism. All right. So let's have your pitch and walk us through these comics.
Okay, thank you. The idea is I have two books. One of them is pretty thick. It's almost 300 pages long. The other is 60 pages long. They're both hardcover, offset color, really beautiful offset color. And I like the sort of very basic elevator pitch I have is that they're the craziest retellings of Dracula that you will ever, come across. But they're actually pretty strange books. They're meant to be science fiction, but they're meant to be science fiction that happens in a very distant future where technology basically is near omnipotent. So something that feels like science fiction actually becomes more like fantasy, because there's the idea that behind the characters there's some sort of scientific logic, but that logic is pretty much indistinguishable from what would be a dream or fantasy. And
well, some people say this is all a simulation. How do we
yeah,
know?
yeah, exactly. The sort of brain in a jar argument, right?
Yeah.
And I say beyond nihilism, you can click, for example, in the best not to, perhaps not in that one, but in the one on top where it says "Peek Inside."
Okay. Let's see. Okay, so it opened it up in a different panel, so I'm going to bring it back here. This way it opens here.
Let me see also if I can figure this out about the sharing some. Because it doesn't let me share JPEGs or images. It seems.
Yeah, you would have to open it up and then share within the window screen. It's a little more complicated to share JPEGs and things like that, as opposed to sharing what's in a screen, like in a tab or in the browser.
Okay, well, I think there's enough samples. There should be enough samples in my website. There's like small nipples in one of the samples, I think. So I don't know if that's too racy, but these samples are safe, the ones you're looking at right now.
Oh, okay. Do you recommend I click on any of these at the top in particular?
Well, you can click on the image on the bottom if you want. Those are the pages of one of the books. Yeah,
okay.
click on one. Yeah, it's perhaps I have to rethink a little bit my website. It's sort of not ideal, but
it's very. I guess it's a bit of a tease.
It's a bit of a tease. What do you mean? What do you mean?
What I mean is that it's very it's playful, but it's cryptic, and it might not be the most straightforward way to get information to someone who's not familiar with such things.
Yeah,
it almost feels like a secret site. Like you would get the code on the book, and then you would go to this site and then discover a little more when you were more familiar with the company or the books. So maybe, in terms of rethinking it, I could only say make it a little more straightforward if you wanted to.
I think you're correct on that 100%. I was, I used to love the way websites were before, and they were more cryptic, more about teasing stuff. So, but nowadays it's best to just be as direct as possible.
Yeah, and you could still have something fun that teases at things and is cryptic, but to make it like the main place of where someone might just be like, I'm just I'm interested, but I'm so confused.
Yeah,
You don't want
yeah,
it to
yeah.
be too confused.
Sure. Well, do you know Edward Gorey? Do you know who he
Oh
is?
yes, yes, absolutely.
These pages that you were looking at, I was sort of the first book is sort of inspired by his narrative style, Edward Gorey, and he's a bit of a he used to create things that were really mysterious, and so I wanted to make books that you could enjoy on the first run through, but that would have also much more of an enduring mystery as something that you could come back to. And so there's a lot of different thoughts and different details on that I try to layer on my work. And
It's kind of I'm getting kind of like Dali vibes with the artwork too. Is that correct?
that's one, yeah, that's 100% part of the reference there on the picture in black and white. It was the long shadows he used to do, Dali and the deserts.
Yep. Yeah.
Sort of the figures towering above a desert landscape. Yeah, exactly. That's meant to be the Lee reference. It's also meant to be do you know Little Nemo in Slumberland?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Winsor McCay.
Yeah.
It's sort of a thing about Winsor McCay, and yeah. So I have a lot of stuff like that, and I really appreciate this space to show my stuff to you.
Yeah. No problem.
Not quite sure how long should I stay here. Can I tell you a bit more of the work? Are you perhaps satisfied? Should I?
Sure. We'll do 2 more minutes because I have somebody else now in the green room. But we'll do two
Okay.
more minutes.
Okay. Just about the comic books that I want to invite your listeners and everyone to sort of check out. Is that they're sort of very dreamlike versions of Dracula, and they're meant to be sort of push forward ideas that are answers against nihilism. So I believe that nihilism is the worst thing in the world, and I think everyone suffers under the sort of yoke of nihilism nowadays. And I think that you really need to have very powerful answers against it, because there's actually very powerful arguments for nihilism, and it's not good enough to just sort of try and avoid them. So I try to create these fantasy stories and have them be a vehicle for basically a life-affirming message. And that's some of what I could say about my work. I just not to go on too long.
No, that's great. It's awesome to be able to make stuff, and I think it's important to be able to make stuff that gets people thinking and gets people emotionally engaged as well, as opposed to just kind of making something that's just very superficial, surface level, one-dimensional kind of a thing. That's great too. It's a nice I guess it provides some brevity and levity between the more substantial, in-depth stuff, but it's good that you're making stuff that's supposed to get people thinking a bit. That's great. That's what art's all about. And I thought, honestly, that as soon as I saw this, I thought William C. would dig this. This seems like it's right up his alley in terms of this kind of stuff, based on the ads he takes out in alternative books every now and then. He puts some kind of, it's got some surreal elements to the art that he does as well, and there's a message in there, gets you thinking a bit, and they're not necessarily straight up advertisements. It's more just like almost like you're reading one of our books and you come across his ad, and it's kind of like this art that all of a sudden pops out of nowhere. It's like someone just popped up like a Banksy in the middle of an alternate comic book.
I see what you mean. Yeah.
But yeah, I thought that he would.
Okay, could you repeat the what was the name that you mentioned? I'm sorry, just to sort of write it down. You mentioned an author, right?
Oh well, William. He's in the chat here.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, he takes these ads out every now and then and puts these kind of things in there. And
okay. I see.
It's interesting.
Oh, and he likes it. Okay,
yeah,
that's
he
great.
likes
well,
it.
Thank you very much, William. Okay, okay, that's fine.
A lot of people in the chat are digging the art, especially. I think the art is great. I think you could actually put out just like an art an art book, like
Well,
a coffee table book.
well, that's a project
Yeah.
that I would very much like to, but yeah, the comic books are both really big objects, really colorful objects. They're absolutely bursting with if you like one of my pictures, I'm not gonna they're a big effort. So every page is a big effort. There's no it's not just talking head and white backgrounds. So yeah. If anyone in the chat or anyone here likes it, I want to consider buying one. I've yet to have a disappointed customer so far. Everyone that has bought my books has really enjoyed them. So
Oh, fantastic.
yeah,
And
thank you.
Ashton has the link right there to hilada.com, and there's a shop. You guys can actually purchase directly on this as well. What is your name? Would you like to provide at least your first name?
I can give my name. My real name is Pablo Rincon. I'm a Mexican comic book artist, and yeah, my pseudonym is Helada. I would, yeah. I was looking also at the Alterna Comics. Perhaps I will, try to submit some ideas to you for some projects, because I really love especially the covers you have. Because I haven't read the books, but the covers are really they're
Thank
really
you.
spectacular. Yeah, I had seen already it came from Wednesday. I remember many pictures of those.
Oh, yeah. If you have short stories, usually 10 pages or less, if you have any short stories like that, feel free to submit. Of course, always read the submission guidelines on the site. Make sure that your stuff not just is appropriate for us, but that we're also appropriate for you.
Of
But
course, yeah.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Go for
Okay.
that. Submissions are always open on our site too. It's not just a specific time of year or anything like that. And usually it takes like 1 to 2 months for me to look through all the submissions, because we do get a whole bunch of them. And I like to just sit down over the course of a weekend and really look through all of them and take my time.
Yeah, I'll try to come up with something to propose to you guys. And yeah, thank you very much for the space.
Yeah, no problem at all. Thank you for being on the show today. And Pablo, all the best of luck to you with your work. And everybody can go to hilada.com to check out what you've seen here today and maybe a little bit more. Thanks again, Pablo.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah, very interesting stuff. I was enjoying some of just the art in his portfolio section. It was pretty interesting. Let's see. JD Smith says Alterna awakened my long dormant love for comics. I got priced out of funny books a while ago, but Alterna's price tags allow me to take a gamble and discover new books. Thank you, Pete. Oh, thank you so much. That's what we love to hear here at Alterna, in terms of, people that are maybe they loved comics and then they fell out of love with comics, and then, for some reason Alterna's hitting a nerve with those readers. They see our books and they see the price and they open the book and it's newsprint. It seems like they went through a time machine, and then they read the books, and the books are escapist material, fun. They're fantasy, sci-fi, horror, action, adventure. You go to another world. I've said it before, some publishers want to offer you a window outside your world. I want to offer you a window into another world, or many worlds. Take you away from here and put you into somewhere else. So that's what I think is really great about comic books and comic book stories and just storytelling in general. But thank you so much, JD. Really appreciate that. Rick Saylor, hey, what's up? Hope you're doing well. Let's see. Ashton says, hey, Pete, some good news. My daughter started picking up Alterna comics and loves T-Bird now. Oh, fantastic. That's terrific. Goodness. Man, oh man, well, that's a good one. That is a good one. And Brian Suddenly Old, hey, you're in the chat too, says, hello, fellow humans and cryptids. All right, up next we have... Let's bring in our next guest, and that would be Allison McClone. What's up, Allison?
Not much. How are you, Pete?
I'm doing good. What's on your mind tonight?
Well, I was thinking about, didn't Joe Quesada just leave Marvel?
Oh, did he?
Yeah, I think he made a post about it or something. I saw Comics with Perch put out a video on it, I think.
Oh, to what capacity was Quesada at Marvel? I know that he used to be the EIC.
Yeah, that's what I knew. I thought he was
for a
something
while.
higher now, but I don't remember.
Maybe
I-
like chief creative officer or something along those lines.
yeah, weird fancy title.
Does anybody in the chat know? Have you heard about this story?
I know there was a Facebook post he did where he was talking about it.
A
I
Facebook
skimmed
post.
it, but yeah.
Let's see. Let me give a quick little search here if there's any information.
I figured him leaving Marvel. Well, that's news.
Let's see. Oh, he's current executive vice president and creative director. So I don't know if that just means in the capacity of the comics and the capacity of other aspects of it.
Mm-hmm.
Did he leave in a huff? or was it just, it's my time to go, I should go?
Well, he said he wanted to go and make comics again, and draw and all that other stuff, and start doing comics. So that sounded like the reason he was leaving. He wanted to do his own thing. So
okay.
I don't know if there's anything else to it. I also don't care. I just thought it'd be interesting. I thought it was interesting news that he left.
Yeah. Well, I'm seeing an article about it, and it just pretty much is exactly what you said. If there is any I don't know, other reason as to perhaps why he left or anything along those lines, obviously he's not going to necessarily divulge that. It's just going to be hopefully one of those things where he goes his way, and then that's it with that. And maybe, I don't know, Quesada has it's been a very strange past couple of years with Quesada, with some of his stuff that he's said and done on social media. But at the same time, I mean, maybe he was super miserable. I have a theory that a lot of people in comics, mainstream comics in particular, have been unbelievably miserable in the past couple of years. And it's like any other job, when you are not enjoying your time at that job, when you maybe have fallen out of love with it or you no longer care about it, you kind of start to behave in a more brazen way, almost like you just want to get fired.
Mm-hmm.
And you start kind of lashing out. You start doing things in a way that doesn't really make sense. And that's all I could hope when it comes to some of the things that Quesada has done over the past couple of years in terms of some of his conduct and some of the other things that have gone on. I'm not going to really necessarily dive into it, but maybe now maybe he can get some kind of happiness out of whatever direction in life he's going to go in now. Hopefully he does. I don't want to see necessarily anybody miserable other than people who are true scum of the earth. I don't think Quesada's on that level, whether you like him or not. But and I don't mean you in particular, anybody perhaps watching the show too.
You mean that as a general you.
But yeah, hopefully maybe it's one of those things where he felt like he was if he's a creative individual, which he is, maybe he felt like the corporate life was destroying his soul. Which I can only imagine it would at some point.
I worked for a corporation for a very long time. I can definitely tell you that they crush your soul. So.
Yeah, and I can only imagine the changes that he went through. Kind of, I mean, I'll give credit where credit's due. When he came along as EIC, I think a lot of people felt like he kind of revitalized Marvel a bit. And then they got, bought out by Disney. And slowly but surely, of course, it kind of went the way that it went. Whether you're a fan of that or not, any kind of more major corporate oversight that you have at your job, when you're someone who's used to being captain of that ship, it's going to become a very draining, stressful, daunting thing.
Yeah.
So hopefully he can find some happiness and maybe get back to being creative. And maybe in a couple of years again, he has found the passion for this kind of stuff and making comic books. I think a lot of these creative types, and I think even on some level too, we see some of this with someone like Jim Lee. I think a lot of people feel this way too, where they think, that's nice and all that you're doing the business thing with DC and everything else, but like that's not your purpose on this earth. Like your purpose on this earth is obviously to create amazing, wonderful things that people love, that touch people's lives. And not just to push paperwork around or delegate who does this and who does that. It's something more than that, something that actually touches people's lives and makes a positive impact. Not just the business corporate world aspect of things. So maybe he goes that way one day too. Wouldn't that be nice?
That'd be
But
cool.
at the same time, it is what it is, and like you said before too, you don't really care. I'm not someone who's going to sit here and worry about what Joe Quesada is going to do with the rest of his life or whatever. But hopefully,
No,
whatever he does is something positive and something that makes him happy.
interesting conversation, basically. I mean, I don't buy anything from Marvel anymore. I haven't in years.
Oh yeah, the same here.
Actually, that's a lie. I bought a Conan that Kevin Eastman wrote, or drew, or something. I bought that issue
When was that?
recently, like in
Oh, yeah?
the past year or so.
Oh wow, was
I
it
bought
good?
that. I wasn't that impressed.
Okay. See,
I mean,
that's
and
sad.
I really love Kevin Eastman, so I just
Yeah.
wasn't that impressed with it.
No, that does sound like it could have been. I mean, that sounds like something that maybe, 25, 30 years ago, maybe that would be like, oh, that could be interesting. But
Yeah, I also
this
think it
point
was
in time.
stupidly overpriced.
Or maybe if Conan, and I think I heard something, I could have sworn, maybe correct me if you know different, I could have sworn that Marvel lost the license to Conan.
They're not renewing the license.
They're not renewing it. Okay. Maybe it actually has the chance now to really thrive somewhere else. Hopefully independently, if they
Well, like
retain
with
it
Dark
and then
Horse.
hire it out.
Yeah, it's going to be published by the people who control the license. They're actually going to do
Ooh.
their own Conan comic, and
Well,
we'll
fingers
see what
crossed
happens
then.
with that. Yeah,
That's
I'm
great.
hopeful.
Yeah, that's very good then. Hopefully it does do well.
Yeah.
Anything else on your mind tonight?
That's really it. I just came in to say hi. I hadn't seen you for a bit, so I was like, "Oh, good. Peter's streaming again," and hope King Crypt is going good.
Yeah, it's doing very well. I'm super happy about it. I cannot believe it. Actually, I haven't talked about it yet specifically tonight. Let me see actually where it's at. Let's see. So right now it's at 19,148 with 378 backers on board. We are very close to the 400 backer mark. And thank you guys so much for supporting this. This is technically the start of day 6. Day
Nice.
6 started at 9 o'clock tonight. So yeah, thank you guys so much. Man, oh man. Have you had a chance to back yet?
Not yet. I will. It's more of just I wait till I get paid, and then I kind of go off of that. Since
No problem. You got a lot of time. Don't worry. We're going.
and I had to do it. I had to
Yeah.
do a GoFundMe for my medical bills.
Oh
so.
no. Is everything okay?
It's just affording prescriptions. Prescription prices are just crap. I mean, it's.
Oh, goodness.
I have insurance, and I have a prescription that still runs $400.
Horrible.
Yeah, it's just kind of F my life.
So don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Take your time. I mean, especially with this campaign, this is the first 30, and then we're having a second 30 to do the full 60. Then we're going in demand, and then I'm not going to be fulfilling until at the earliest, maybe December. And then I'm going to still keep it in demand until all fulfillment is done.
I want to back it. I like alternative stuff, obviously, otherwise I wouldn't be here. So I want to support you.
I
So
appreciate that. Thank
oh,
you.
I have to see how my finances are. Just when they come up. I mean, you'll still be in your first thing when I know. So
Oh, okay. Fantastic.
yeah, I get paid in a couple of weeks. So the joys of being disabled.
Well, I hope everything else is going okay.
yeah,
and
for the most part, everything's going pretty good.
All right. Well, if you got nothing else on your mind, I guess that you want to talk about, then I guess.
No, that's about it. I just came by to say hi, and
Okay.
that's about it. I'll
all
see
right.
everyone later.
Well, thank you so much, Allison. Take it
Thank you for having me.
easy
Bye.
and have a great night.
You too.
Man, oh man, there's so much going on with everything everywhere. Goodness. Let's see. Jefferson Roswell is saying Perch's theory is that Disney will take more control of Marvel storytelling. Well, I think that's something that if anyone thought Disney was going to purchase Marvel and then just kind of kick back about everything, even the comic aspect of it, I think I'd like to have that level of ignorance sometime, I guess. I mean, I thought as soon as they, and I believe it's 2009. You guys in the chat can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe in 2009 is when Marvel was purchased by Disney. And I thought, okay, well, it's going to be about 10 years until we're going to really start seeing Disney change things. And that's due to the course of 5-year plans. So the way a lot of this corporate stuff generally works, you get, the 5-year plan of, Disney coming in. Okay, Marvel, we're going to kind of let you do your own thing for 5 years, see how it goes and reassess. And then they come in and reassess, and then another 5 years goes around and they say, okay, you're going to have to start tweaking this and this, and we want the company to move in this kind of a direction. And then once those 5 years end, you got that 10-year mark, they start going, all right, now here's what really has to go, here's what can stay, here's how things are going down. So, and I think a lot of us have seen around 2018, 2019, there's been a lot of very hard moves in certain directions at Marvel, Disney, etc. And now we're into 2022. You're talking about now you're coming upon the end of almost that next 5 years. Then you really start to see the corporate takeover by around year 15, especially on something as big as this. So I'm saying, let's see, that was 5 years. So 2024, we're probably going to start to see a very, very different looking Marvel. And we might even see a very big change around company lines in terms of the comic catalog and things like that. But okay, I welcome it. As a publisher and as a creator of comic books, if the mainstream companies would like to, and they can do this, there's enough of a back catalog to do it. If they would like to generally not really produce any more new material other than like once in a while, something that maybe ties into a show or a movie, something that's almost used in a promotional aspect, or something that is very outside of, almost like there's no more continuity in a way, and they just want to kind of produce new material like that a handful of times in a year, and then just constantly produce and reproduce things based off of old material, reprints, that kind of a thing. That would be in their best interest, honestly. That would make the most sense. If I was Disney, I would absolutely say that. And the same thing with whoever at this point owns DC Comics. Same exact thing. Because the comic market, the distribution of comics, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. It's not a place that you can necessarily really grow your business. And then that's not their moneymaker. It's not their focus. So I'm kind of, if anything, I'm honestly surprised that they haven't started moving in that direction at this point. But, it is what it is. I'm more excited about, I really think we're seeing a next huge generational wave of indie, and in more ways than one. Even Allison talking about Conan being something that's going to be run by the people who own the title. That sounds like creator owned to me. If we see more and more of that kind of stuff among those kind of licensed properties, instead of them licensing things out and instead saying, you know what, why can't we just steer our own ship? Why can't we just hire a writer? Why can't we just get these people to do these things and, get somebody who knows how to do pre-press and then get in touch with the printer, and we could put these books out there, carve out that middleman, have control of your own stuff. I think that's the best way forward for pretty much everybody. So maybe we'll see more of that. Let's see. Brian Suddenly Old says, Graveyard Shift is shipping. I'm more excited to be receiving those books than the goings on at Marvel. True that. Absolutely. Statos says, one of these days the Marvel movies will say directed by Marvel Studios featuring, and then the director. Do they not say that? Do they not give credit to the director? I might be missing the reference or the joke or whatever that may be. I'm sorry, Stato. See Your Vol is obvious is fun new contest. Place your bets on who fulfills first. Oh, goodness gracious. 10-8 Comics says Quesada was a decent artist early on. Am I remembering that right? I thought so. That's kind of more where I knew Quesada from, was his art. And honestly, whatever. I think the more people that we can have on this planet trying to live a happier, more fulfilling life, the better we all are for it. So if he was truly miserable where he was, and that's that when we saw some of that misery bubble up to the surface, and that's what was going on there, and it was coming out as weird, spiteful, stupid comments and behavior, this would explain that, and hopefully he can actually get back to and didn't do too much damage, I suppose, to himself. Again, either way, I don't really personally care, but maybe he can actually get things back on track again with that sort of thing, and I'm sure he's got a ton of fans who will support him anyway. So yeah, maybe he'll actually have some happiness in his life and fulfillment in that aspect. Who knows? Ashton says, please back King Cryptid. Thank you, Ashton, for putting that link up in the chat. Appreciate it. Let's see, I'm going to try to get to some of the other comments here before we go on to our next guest. We do have someone here waiting in the wings. Let's see, Eric says the king is rolling along. Yes, King Cryptid is doing fantastically. Thank you guys so much. And again, you can go to kingcryptid.com, nice and easy, and you can go check out the campaign today and back it if it looks good to you, which hopefully it does. It's just been doing fantastic, and I really appreciate you guys for your support. Let's see here. William C says supposedly City of Rot is done in printing, so that one down. City of Rot is completely done with printing. I've actually seen it, so Spencer should be shipping stuff out very soon. And if he doesn't, I don't know. Get in touch with him. It is Spencer is an alternate comics creator, but City of Rot is not an alternate comics property, so I don't have any control or say or knowledge about what's occurring on that end, other than what I'm seeing or what I'm told. So I have seen and have been told that book is done, and I am anxiously awaiting as well, since I am a backer. Eric Housel is talking to Murph. Let's see. We got, I think that's about it. Oh yeah, John Buscema's run on Conan. Oh yeah, that's the good stuff. Oh yeah. Let's see. A lot of comics says, I'm not hyped for anything Disney's doing, but I am hyped about more things entering public domain. Maybe even Mickey. That would never happen. It would never happen. There's a long history of a lot of things to do with that kind of thing. A lot of things should be entering public domain, but then there's trademark. And then there's also the aspect of as soon as you try to do something with that story, by using that trademark, that name, that character, their image, etc. Even though the story itself may be public domain and you can possibly reproduce it, you couldn't really reproduce it because of the ownership of trademark. So, and they'll keep reinforcing and owning such thing, the logo, the character, that kind of thing. So there's a lot of, it's not as cut and dry as you might think with public domain. Plus, there's no point to hoping that certain things open up again in public domain here and there. Honestly, just look at it and then create something else and skew it. That's the best thing that can honestly come out of public domain, because then you don't end up just putting all your time, money, and effort into a property that you will never own. So that's the biggest thing. I try to steer people away from getting obsessed about doing something with the public domain when you can actually just get inspiration from what's in the public domain. You don't have to sweat as many bullets about getting potentially sued for infringement, and then create your own property and create something unique enough that it makes sense to put that time and money into it. Let's see. All right, let's move on to our next guest, and that would be Big Ben Henderson. What's up, Ben? Oh, I'm hearing myself in the background. Holy smokes.
Well, hold on one second. Sorry about that, man. I haven't streamed in a long time. You doing good?
I'm doing well. How are you, man? What's on your mind?
I'm doing good, man. I got a couple of questions for you and a rumor. What do you want first?
Let's take the rumor.
The rumor is that Publishing Pete is going to take over Marvel. That's why Joe left?
Oh, no.
Is that just a rumor I'm trying to start, or is that real?
Give me liberty or give me death.
Yeah, me too, brother. Exactly. And then my question is, if you could get a Marvel character, which one would you want to do? Like, if you just say, they said, Pete, come in and do this one character or this one story, what would be your boom? I'm gonna do it.
I'm gonna have to dig deep to the way I felt about this when I was a kid, because I haven't felt like this in a very long time. Let's see. So, Kid Pete, and we're talking about maybe like 10 to 12 years old, would have really loved to do something with Nightcrawler or Magneto.
Yeah.
So, at
That's
this
a good
point,
pick,
I
man.
don't. At this point, I don't really care though. I'm way more excited about doing what I want to do with the rest of my life, which is making King Cryptid comics. So it's you know, whoever wants to go down that road in terms of Marvel, DC, or whatever it may be, I just hope that they understand. Use your time there wisely. Build up a fan base. Don't, despite what some of the other creators over there might say, don't crap on any of your readers or your fans. Just do the best damn job you can do, and then leave. Get the hell out of there. And then do your own thing the rest of your life. That's the only good thing that could possibly come out of working for either of the big two at this point in time. Don't give them your best stuff. Don't create your best stuff. Do your best work. Do the best job you can do. But
Right.
don't give them, don't give them the goose and the golden egg.
Cool. Right on, man. Well, I just wanted to say hi. I missed you. Alterna rocks. I'm gonna back and I'm gonna be advertising everywhere. I got some weird stuff in mind, so keep an eye out and filter some of it out. I don't
All
know
right.
when to submit.
Will do, man. Thank you so much.
Take it easy, chat.
Take it easy,
pal.
Ben. All right. Let's see. I saw something else here. We had. Where was this? There was a question here. It was Bretsky the Great. It says, Pete, what is the King Cryptid item over your right shoulder? My right or your right? I guess over either shoulder, there's a King Cryptid item there. It's easier to get the one that's behind me here. So it's the King Cryptid box. I don't know if you saw this. Did you see this already, Brett? I don't know if you saw it already. But so this is on the campaign. And it's a little bit bigger than the Alterna box. But it holds a little bit more comics. I guess you could say it's king-sized. Now, instead of being 8 by 11 by 2, which is the Alterna box can actually fit inside. When I put this box together, I thought that the measurements meant the box was that big. That means the interior on this box is that big. So basically, it will fit the Alterna box, but it stands a little bit taller than the Alterna box, maybe about a ½ inch to an inch. And then it holds 20 to 25 comics, whereas the Alterna box holds, I'd say possibly 15 to 18, bagged and boarded. So this will hold a whole bunch more comics than the Alterna box will. But this is on the campaign, yeah. So I don't know if you saw this yet, Bretsky the Great, but there you have it. All right, let's see here. We have a couple other questions in here, and then we'll get to the person who is patiently waiting in the green room. All right. Let's see. We got Video Tracks. What's up, Video Tracks? Hope you're doing well. Thank you for joining us today. And William C. said that they would take Adam Warlock at Marvel if they wanted to work on something interesting. See, Antoine Dennison, what's up, Antoine? Says, I think the appeal of the public domain is that folks want to capitalize on the existing awareness an IP may have. But the downside is that anyone else can use that IP and benefit from your work, too. I think the thing that we've seen a lot of the time with public domain is that there is sometimes a perceived awareness for some of the things in the public domain. And unless you're talking about something that's like Sherlock Holmes or, things on that level, which even then you have to be careful what you're doing with Sherlock Holmes as well, because although it's public domain, there are different companies that own different sets of rights for different things. so you can't step on the toes of those companies as well. It becomes a minefield. And to be honest, it's one of those things that I find is definitely the reward does not outweigh the risk. But a lot of the time you find that it might be public domain and someone might be aware of it, but you're actually not really capitalizing that much on the awareness of that brand, because most people are not aware of it. Because most things in the public domain, unless you're talking about fairy tales, unless you're talking about fables, things like that, in terms of there's an awareness, or a property that's like you're talking about like zombies, vampires, myths and legends and things that we're way more familiar with, you would actually stem to be more successful using those concepts than using something that's a very specific kind of public domain IP. And I think there's a lot to be said for people that can create something new out of something that is still very familiar. But be very careful. That's all I got to say. Be very careful when it comes to certain public domain characters, because there's still a lot of different things here and there that are going to potentially cause a lot of headaches for you guys. But again, to me, it just boils down to you're putting in a lot of work, a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of money to make these things. And at the end of the day, you still have nothing to show for it. So even though you might not have to work for some kind of company and get hired to do this kind of a thing with this character, you're certainly not necessarily building up your own thing, which you could have and should have been doing the entire time. So it's important to think about that. Let's see. Brian Sunleal says, I gotta say what Vaughn is doing with Black Terror is amazing, but now I wish it was an original character. I do too. I actually talked to him about that before he had launched it. And I had said, maybe you should just get inspired by that character, but create your own. There's no reason you can't create your own derivative of that public domain character. And he thought about it, and obviously he went the way that he went, and he's had great success with it. But I don't think he's of that mindset where he wants to do something with that character necessarily. And maybe I'm putting words in his mouth, and I do not wish to do that. But maybe he doesn't want to do something like the way I feel about King Cryptid. There's only going to be certain things that come across your entire life where you're like, nope, I'm doing this. I found the one. I'm doing something I want to do. The rest of my life, this character, this world, that's that. This could just be, I have this cool story with this character that I think is pretty neat, and I want to do it. And then that's it. And I'll never really do another one again, or, do something else now. And then there's some people that's the way that is. And there's nothing wrong with that either. But I'm definitely way more of the mindset that you want to keep continuously building up something. I went down the road of creating stories that were just kind of, I want to create that story. And now I'm at the road where I want to create stories that I have to create. And there's a difference, and you get to a certain point, I think, where eventually you realize what exactly that means. And so it could definitely just be something where I want to have fun in this world for now, and I'll just leave it, make it, and go on to the next thing. And there's nothing wrong with that at all. Cryptid Zoo says, hey Pete, really love what you're doing over there at Alterna. We have ad opportunities for King Cryptid. Oh goodness gracious, I think you might have missed a lot of them if you're just hearing about it now. So most of the ads have sold out. Let me just give you a quick rundown on it. We got $25 for full pagers. All of the number 1, issue 1 ads have sold out. Almost all of the issue 2 ads have sold out. There's only one left. Issue 2 ads must be in black and white, including the covers. The full pagers for issue 3, there's 4 left. Full pages for issue 4, there's 3 left. And then for the inside back cover, 1, 3, and 4 are gone. So just number 2 is left. That has to be black and white though. That's $50. Now the blank, we have a blank variant, sketch cover variant for issue 1. That is still available for an inside back cover. That's a pretty important ad. So if that would probably be the one that I say the inside back and inside front cover for the number 1 sketch cover variant. That's probably the next best ad available on this campaign right now. And then you have the inside front cover for number 4 with number 1, 2, and 3. Those ads are sold out. So if you do want an ad, make sure to get on it, because they're probably going to be gone within like a week or so, maybe even a little earlier than that. So I'm glad you came onto the stream and talked about that. But definitely jump on that before they're all gone. Let's see here. Alpha Proto says it's easier to make something heavily inspired than using an existing property. The spiritual successor idea. Reboots and remakes tend to disappoint. Properties come with expectations from fans. I agree. That's something else. So even if you have something that's in public domain, or you're able to license, or whatever it may be, there's going to be now expectations set for you, and rightfully so. And if you don't meet those expectations, tonally, quality-wise, whatever it may be, meet or exceed those expectations, it could just blow up in your face. So all of that stuff. And as a creator, I feel kind of odd going into it with I can do better than they did. Having a beloved property and saying my take on it, I think it could be better than what they did, because that's kind of what you're saying when you go in there and you reboot, you remake, you do these things. Otherwise, if you don't think you can do better than what they did, then why are you doing it? You're going to do worse than what they did. So you start to get into this weird little quandary. It's very, very, I don't know, very strange. All right, so up next we have
Pete. What's up?
Hey,
man?
what's up? How you doing, man? Thank you for being so patient.
No, it's no big deal. It's just good to be around. I was down for 6 weeks with a bad intestinal infection, man. No one saw me anywhere.
Oh, goodness. You okay now?
Yeah, I've been finally shook it off about 2 weeks ago, and been trying to play catch up with crowdfunding and chasing my printer around to get my books in. 47 Furious Tales issue 3 is supposed to have been on its way to backers. I'm still waiting for the book to get in from the printer. So just got an email from them telling me it won't be here Thursday. It's going to be here Monday. So
that's not too bad, I guess. Probably the holiday weekend through.
Yeah, but I mean, it's falling after a delay that came before that, so it's been a little problematic. But I wanted to pop up and just say, what's going on in the world of comics, man? People are buying indie books. We're getting on store shelves, and people are seeming to like them. And I try to make a point to listen to people who've done it. So, I think it's no secret. I lurk around. I listen when you're talking about business and such. So, just want to pop in and say thanks, Pete. We are now have Sonopa books on in comic shops, and 35 comic shops around the U.S. right now. About to be 36 once we finalize this order with the new guy in Texas.
Awesome.
And then
any stores you want to give a shout out in particular to? Anything that has gone above and beyond that you've had?
Yeah, definitely. With? Gotham Underground in New Jersey, the Collective down in Altamonte Springs, the Hive down in somewhere Texas, I forget at the moment, and the Box in Leesville, Louisiana. These guys have been really, really, really pushing Sonopa titles. Actually, the Collective by themselves has sold over 100 copies of 47 Furious Tales issue 1 just at their one location. So, and Third Eye Comics. Nice. I can't believe I forgot them. Third Eye Comics, yeah, who just opened their 7th location. So it's been pretty cool. And,
congratulations.
Yeah, just trying to get to 50 by the end of the year. trying. But I just want to pop in and say thanks, man. Thanks for being level-headed and just saying things, telling things like they are, and encouraging people to do their best first and then do their best again. I think that's pretty important.
Yeah, you're competing with yourself at the end of the day.
Yeah,
you're trying to always outdo yourself as opposed to necessarily outdoing the next guy or whatever it may be. Get inspired by what
Oh,
other
yeah.
people are doing. Absolutely. And I think that adds a fuel to the fire sometime when you're like, oh man, you see what they're doing over there? We gotta do better than that. But at the end of the day, all you're really doing is competing with yourself, even if the inspiration comes from someone else.
Yeah, we've got 3 comic titles rolling this year, and we'll be up to 5 next year, maybe 6, depending on what the capital says we can do. So that's a big change from where we are even a year ago.
That's great, man. Yeah, slow and steady, brick by brick, or in our case, issue by issue. That's
I know,
all you can
right?
do.
I know. Learn a little something new every time. Whether it's what to look for when your printer says, "Oh, we were having a paper issue." Well, how you have a paper issue when your job is printing. But
Yeah, what I find that's very strange about a lot of that talk nowadays from printers is I find that so many of them don't want to even supply you with an alternative paper stock to use. They're just like, paper shortage, and it's like, okay, well, not all the paper is gone, because if it was, I would not be receiving the amount of junk mail that I still receive. So there's obviously still paper being used somewhere, and maybe there's a cost differential, but you got to let me know what paper stock is available. A lot of these printers, they'll have a house stock, and they'll hardly ever really talk about it. After dealing with, maybe I've dealt with 20 or so printers, I've talked to close to 200 in 12 years. I've only maybe had 2 or 3 that ever actually talked about their house stock, the one that they pretty much always purchase the most of. And it's very strange to me to hear, and I'm not saying that people aren't being truthful about it, but I've dealt with it too, where printers will tell you that, well, there's these delays and they can't get this certain paper in and this and that, but they won't provide the alternative of like, well, instead of going with this 80 pound, what if you went with this 70? What if you went with this 100? Is that a possibility? Because we have that in stock. It's very strange. So I don't know if it's the printer not necessarily being a good salesman on that level, or what it may be, but it still is very frustrating because you feel like you have to pry, and if you haven't been doing it long enough, or you don't feel comfortable enough with kind of being insistent, like we had an issue with our printer that's been very great, and they've been really good so far, but on the last run, they were giving me a quote that was like almost 3 times as high as the previous run, and at the end of it, I had to keep turning screws to be like, look, it doesn't make sense. I don't care that there's like a couple more books. I don't care about, there's a couple more copies. We're talking about 3 times the amount. That shouldn't. And then eventually they found out, because they quoted by basically putting it on a larger web with a larger roll. So they had way more waste. They had to use way more of setup time. They had to, all these other things inflated the cost. And I was like, well, can we get back down to the roll that we did use?
Well, they do
and then they did that, and it was
format
great.
or newspaper size format.
So the way that they put it out with the signatures, because of the size of our books, in terms of the width of them and in terms of their web, it just basically meets what they need to do at a certain length. A little bit, and you're talking about maybe like a half an inch over the signatures of 4 across. A half an inch more, and you're talking about you got to go up to the next size, and you're going to throw away a lot of paper, you're going to have a lot more trim involved, all this stuff. And so they were quoting us at that bigger size, and the person was not understanding, like, no, you can fit the job still on that. You don't need to have all this excess for bleed and whatever else. You could just have a normal amount for bleed. And because we got quoted for this bigger, more massive type size on the roll, the quote was that much higher. And it would have just, if I didn't see that different things were going there, if I didn't keep prying, if I didn't keep asking questions, if I didn't keep insisting, no, I don't, that's not right. There's no way that could be that. I wouldn't have gotten to the top, and eventually spoke to the owner of the company, who then figured out what it was and then said, oh, we're so sorry, we had misquoted you with that, and they would have lost my business for forever. So there's all these various things at play within these companies, where certain people are just like, no, that's what it is, paper shortage and this and that, because that's the stuff they were giving me. There were a paper shortage, things have risen over I'm like, there's no way that it rose that much in 2 months. We just did a print run with you 2 months ago. There's no way it's 3 times the price now. You know, there's 300% of a price increase in 2
and
months.
see, we
I
saw
don't
something
care.
like that.
It's impossible.
Between the February print run for Rain and then this print run for 47 issue 3, the price was up 60%, and we're like, we have to talk about this. And we went over a bunch of things on it, and finally got down to the nitty and the gritty, and just said, well, you know, it's actually going to be more like 20% difference, which is still a huge kick, but much better than 60%. Do you ever find yourself to where you become an important enough customer that they want to pay more attention to you? I mean, when you're doing more than, like, I think, what did I print last year? Like $15,000, I think I printed worth last year. You ever find that, you know, when you're printing like 30
Yeah,
or 40,
I find
that
it.
they're more ready to listen to you?
Well, there was a company we worked with. We were printing about 150,000 with them a year, and I found that it ebbed and flowed with who the sales rep was. Sometimes, and we had a really good sales rep at one point, and then they had left. And and I found out the reason later on that they left was because this company was really having its head up its butt. And this was about maybe 3 years ago. And there's a lot of things going on there among the staff, and it showed once they had left. And I dealt with the new rep, and the new rep did not care about anything. They didn't care about the quality. They didn't care about doing the right thing for us. They didn't care about screw ups. They just flat out didn't care. And we had left them after that point. We only worked maybe 2 more times with them before I was like, that's it. We have to go to another printer. These guys don't give a crap at all. You know, we're going to be spending $150,000 a year with you guys, and you don't care.
Right.
Why are we here still? So we left, we went somewhere else, and then eventually we went back to them when they got somebody new in. And that person was really good. They were a really good rep. They did look out for us, and they looked out for us to the extent at which they actually got kicked off of our account because they were so infuriated with how they were handling our account and how lack of quality control that they had, and they had blown up at them at the press room. And they said, these guys are sending in all these books. These books matter. These aren't throwaway items. These aren't just grocery store flyers that we're doing. We're doing books that are going to be bought and are going to be cherished by people. And this was a comic fan too, so it really kind of hit them, I think, in a nerve.
Right in a soft spot, yeah.
And then I called them up. I was like, what's going on? I haven't heard from you in weeks, and this print run is just in limbo right now. And they said they actually kicked me off. They kicked me off of your account, and they don't want to tell you. And he's like, honestly, I could probably get fired for telling you this right now, but he's like, and he was livid. He was, you know, expletives all over the place about what was going on. And I was like, all right, you know, I know what we got to do, and we had to leave, and we left them at that point in time. But now we have who we have, and it's been great. And there's always going to be road bumps that occur, and then this was a bump that I'm glad I've dealt with a lot of this over the years. But there's people out there, maybe this is the first or second time or whatever it is, or maybe you have a personality where you're not used to kind of being like, no, you know, this is not right. You know, I want to see, how did you arrive at that? Almost like a teacher telling the student, show me the work. How did you arrive at that answer? You know, and because you don't just arbitrarily pick numbers and all of a sudden one day the print run is 25,000 and, you know, last month it was 8. You know, it's not just like, well, we just felt like it. You know, it's not like that kind of a thing. How did you arrive at that math? Because otherwise it feels like an extreme bait and switch. Like now all of a sudden, that you have our work and we're a repeat customer. Now you're going to turn the screws and act as if we couldn't go anywhere else. So you really have to be insistent upon, and not necessarily rude, but you have to be insistent upon where you stand as a customer and what's what in this scenario, and just to at least have them explain it to you as to what is going on here, because that's how they eventually arrived at it. Because I kept on saying, look, just explain it to me. What is the justification behind this increase? What is occurring? Because there's no way in 2 months it's 300% increase. And that's how eventually they've really analyzed it, and it went to the top, and then they looked at it and saw the problem. But you have to be used to doing that kind of stuff. And there's a lot of guys out there that are starting off right now that they don't even want to ask for paper samples. They feel like that's a little too much. You know, just kind of almost let the printer, they heard this kind of paper sample is this from someone else, and maybe we'll just use that. Get paper samples, get as many as you can.
Yeah, Adam Watson told me that years and years ago even before I started doing comics as well. We were only doing RPG work at the time, and I was talking to him. He owns Darkslinger Comics and Comics Mainstream. And I mean, every printer I consider, that's the first thing I ask them for is the samples of the stocks that we're looking at. And it makes a huge difference because you want your book to look right, feel right, and it's a big deal.
Yeah, 100%.
Just
even as grades of newsprint, things like that.
This is the kind of talk that I'm really grateful for, man. So thank you so very much.
Yeah, no problem, man.
We're going to get back to shilling stuff, and we do have an Indiegogo up. We launched it with no prep because I was down for 6 weeks. And thanks to the folks for coming out and backing it so far. We're loving it. Reign of Ages Indiegogo exclusive cover. Check it out, guys. But also this week we'll have we're waiting on Kickstarter approval for the first title I'm publishing that I myself didn't write. I edited it, I'm publishing it and distributing it. And that's Necroholic by Brian Lee, which is a comic series about an alcoholic necromancer and all the hijinks she gets up to. So
all right.
It's pretty cool. I'll send you something on Twitter about that.
Don't try that at home, kids.
Yeah, it starts off with a bang and a lot of zombies.
All right. In that order? In that order?
Yeah, you come to in this empty cemetery, an empty bottle in one hand and a head pounding with that 2 hour later afterwards that the jack is really hammering your forehead, and you realize that you've done something. So that's a fun book. It's looking really, really good. It's done. It's ready to print. We've got proofs coming in from Mixam probably on Friday, and we'll use those in our video for that. And then and the Reign of Ages book is the issue 1 that we did earlier, but we have the Virgin variant, so it's that sharp.
Nice. Yeah.
Sharp, nice black and white that we've got. And we've got a really cool package with that because we went and added the stretch goals that we hit from the Kickstarter into those perks, and then some buttons and stuff, and made just 2 very simple things. People go in, pick it, and we're shipping them in July. It's gonna be easy as pie.
Fantastic. Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much for stopping by, and best of luck to you with the campaigns and with your publishing schedule moving forward, and hopefully, fingers crossed, no printer problems for both of us.
Yeah, I know, right? But just wanted to pop in and say thanks, man. It's always a pleasure to hear you, and this, I'm sure, helped a lot of folks, so hang in there.
All right, man. Take it easy. All right, let's see. Jim, yes, says printers have better margins on certain papers. Samples is a way to take control of that. You used to be able to order samples directly from the paper companies. Yeah, some of them with the printers, I mean, they should all be able to supply you with samples, but I have met a couple that do not want to supply you with samples. And I say, okay, well, thank you. We'll move on. I don't care how good your pricing is. I don't care about anything else. There's no reason on earth you shouldn't be able to get me a sample of the paper stock that we're going to spend thousands upon thousands of dollars on. There's just no reason for it. So, but yeah, you have to learn what to watch out for. All right, up next. Oh, and this will be the last guest of the night, Mr. Antoine Dennison. What's up, Antoine?
How you doing, Pete?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing quite well. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, I can. I can hear you.
That's great. Love the show. Like I said, just basically I wanted to come in and just say hello. Love what you do. Love what you represent. Can I get you on my team when I'm having problems with my printer? Because I feel I need a swinging dick in there to kind of lay down the law, because I kind of acquiesce. I'm like, oh, you got to print it on toilet paper? Well, I understand. Oh, the price of the money? I understand. Just please, just take my money, please. No.
Unfortunately, that service is only for creators when the Alterna logo is in the upper left corner. But I appreciate it.
One day, you never know.
Perhaps you do.
I'd love to work with you down the road if I'm ever. But the onus is on me to do that, I guess. And I would love to be able to say, yeah, Pete and I worked on this project together. So yeah, I just like that. I don't have a lot to say here. I'm just kind of sitting around, working on pages. I don't know, can you guys see that?
Oh, let me put you on full screen. Hold on.
Just doing some pencils and ink.
Oh, very nice.
What I'll do, I'll pencil, I'll rework this, and I'll go over it with another sheet of paper.
I didn't know you were an artist. I thought you were just a writer.
Oh, well, no.
And I don't mean just.
I love the written word, but yeah, I've been drawing since I was a kid.
Oh, beautiful.
I didn't know that. I thought you, well, again, that's maybe why I did to kind of get out there and let people know, yes, I do draw, and I do write. I have ideas,
digging
I
it.
do a lot of things.
No, that looked great. Did you put that on anywhere that we can see in a public setting? Like Twitter or anything?
I'll probably post, well, this is a page from my book. This is something I'm doing for a private individual, but they'll let me post it. I'll probably just post it on my Instagram. Anyone that wants to find me, all you have to do is search Antoine Dennison, everyone, and then I'm the only one on this planet. Something else I'm kind of working on here.
Let's see here. Oh,
I'm
man,
actually
fantastic.
redoing. I did this digitally originally. I wanted to redo it kind of traditionally because, sometimes digital work looks so. There's something missing. It doesn't have a tactile feel to it.
Right?
It just looks too slick.
Yeah,
I don't know.
hear you.
But
I've said that before, and honestly, I think it even transcends the concept of digital and traditional. I think it transcends into the lack of human energy and put right into the paper and transferred from you to the pencil or the pen right to the page. Mm-hmm. And I think there's a lot for that. It's the same thing I think we see in film, where the traditional effects making a puppet as opposed to having CGI. I think it's the same kind of feel, and I think it's kind of almost inexplainable for a lot of people, but there's a soullessness to it, and it feels very cold. And I think that's what we're missing. Yeah. We're missing that human energy.
And those flaws, or what people perceive, like when I draw and I scan it in and I look at my art real close, I'm like, oh, look at all these mistakes. I need to clean it up. It needs to be slick. This line needs to be perfect. When you take it digital, and again, I'm not condemning digital. I love it. I use it. But I need to figure out a way to make it work where it still has that spirit and that the humility of a human touch. It's kind of like digital music. Yeah, we'll listen to it, but there's something particularly beautiful about having a person and knowing the flaws and inconsistencies in our humanness that make it more endearing when they triumph and they hit that perfect note. If a robot hits the perfect note, it doesn't mean anything. Anyway, I didn't mean to get into philosophy here, but
no, I'm all for that always.
I look at pages and I go, that looks great, but it's just like I don't feel anything. It doesn't evoke anything. I don't feel any connection. That's another part of it, the connection. Because if it's too slick, too polished, and too overly cooked, you just walk away feeling nothing.
Yeah. No, I hear you.
And I guess, and as you know, I said, so yeah, I do art. I am doing the art for my book, Red Empires, and that's something I've been thinking about as you kind of work on this. You go, well, yeah, you've done what the story required of you, but did you do something that resonates here? Do you need to put another beat, another angle, another, and again, that can get dangerous too, because there comes a point where you have to say, I need to be moving forward with my productivity, and I can't be redoing pages because it didn't hit the mark. There may not always necessarily hit the mark, but there's something to be said for a finished product. So it's an ongoing battle.
But yeah, with storytelling, it's important with the storytelling. The biggest aspect to hit always, of course, is clarity, making sure that the story is understood and being properly told. And then if you can add some little extra oomphs here and there, to really make certain things pop when you really want that reader to pay attention to certain moments, then all the better. There's some artists, and we're talking maybe like 1 in a million, that it's like every single thing. It's like, how did they do that? Oh my Lord! You're just gushing over every single page. But there's 1,000 wonderful, very, very, very talented artists that nail the storytelling, and every now and then, maybe a couple pages in a comic, that page just sings. That moment is brilliant, and that's phenomenal as well. So just making sure that the storytelling is there above all else, If you can nail that, and then everything else is just icing on the cake. But yeah, I definitely hear what you're saying, because you can't overwork a piece. You can also be your own worst enemy in terms of your production. So you want to make sure it's also not just about the lines you make, but about the lines you don't make. And you want to make sure that there is room for that to breathe and have that engagement with the reader too. Because if everything turns into one big flat, overly detailed piece, then you kind of lose that engagement also with the reader.
That's true. If it's all at a 10, then none of it's at a 10, right?
Exactly.
And then to that respect, I'm looking forward to Creed Encrypted. I think this is going to be looks like a fun project. Reminds me of the classic stuff from the 80s.
Oh yeah,
I don't know.
That's great, man. Thank you.
I mean, one last question, if I may. Did you request of your color artist to use a limited palette like they used back in the 80s, where they had a finite sheet of colors?
Yes.
Or did you did?
I didn't give them a finite sheet, but see, this is something that I'm lucky in a way. I don't. It's not necessarily luck, but I guess I'm fortunate to be able to at the start of my comics career, I wanted to learn how to do everything. I wanted to learn how to do everything, so I knew how to help when I had to help. I knew how to speed up production when I needed to, and I also knew how to critique when I needed to critique, and not just be like a publisher or a creator that was like, I don't know, make it look better. And that kind of open-ended, well, what does that mean? But to be more concise about the criticism and to actually know how to execute the criticism of what I'm talking about. It makes it a lot easier of a working experience with the creator. So there are moments where, and Christian Rossi on issue 4 in particular, I told him, okay, do a flat color scheme, and he came back with it, and it was very modern flats. It was a lot of mid-tones, and I hate the fact that modern flats have resulted to, it's everything's a mid-tone, and it looks like this kind of muddied, weird, because they're going to go in there and put the highlights and the low lights and everything. I'm like, no, do it like this instead. And I showed him Glynis Oliver's work, and then he got it more. It was like this more brilliant level of the coloring, more just the purer the color. So if it's a blue, it's a blue. It's not this like muddied up blue with some black and some magenta and whatever else. I was like, make it like that. Think of like Jose Luis Garcia Lopez, that kind of just vibrant.
Right, that classic. Yeah.
So then he did that, and then I went in it and I kind of touched up later on and made sure the colors stayed consistent. And that's kind of how we've been working with that. But yeah, that was definitely a conscious decision, because especially with Kier's work as well, and I wanted him for this particular reason, when you have vibrant inks and there's high contrast there and they're bold, you want to make sure that you get flats in there that sing, and you don't overwork it to death with the coloring.
And it all looks muddy and rendered.
Yeah.
I see a lot of, and I think that you were mentioning your editorial work. I think that's one of the things that a lot of folks really don't consider as carefully as perhaps they should. Because I look at some books, and I've got not 100 books, but I have enough of a selection to say, I see some patterns here where they're not doing, getting a comp before they go to print, and there's some surprises here in terms of the lack of clarity, things being overly muddy or overly saturated. And I think, if they had taken the time to look at a proof and evaluated what they wanted to accomplish with color and what they actually got, I think they would have been more successful, because, quite frankly, some of them are unreadable, and not because of anything other than taking the time to step back and look at some of the pre-production, post-production, pre-press stuff like that. It's incredibly important to have, that's where you get to color theory and what am I trying to evoke with this, and what do I need to do to complement the art that I have here, rather than say this artist is going to do the best thing he can do, and this colorist is going to try to overpower the art with his work, because they're not on the same team. They're just working on the same project. Again, I don't mean to be critical. It's just, I think it's unfortunate, because I see a lot of books that, if they had taken a little more time to think this through and have a philosophy about how they wanted to approach some of these production dynamics, they would be a lot more successful. I see. I love your books, and I think you guys have got it down. Like I said, they feel like the old classic stuff. My Blood Realms feel like classic books, and they're not there's no misregistration, obviously, because it's digital, but at the same time, it would be easy to ruin a book when you have so few elements to work with, if that makes sense,
Yeah, no, it's 100%, 100%. And for those in the chat that are curious as to what Antoine is referencing, here's one of the pages. This is in issue 4 of King Cryptid. This is page number 3. And this is Keir Covington's line work with Christian Rossi on colors. And I could give myself a color credit on there if I wanted on some capacity, but I'm not gonna, because that's insane. I'm just tweaking and making sure everything is concise. Maybe an editing credit, but I'm already writing it. I don't need more credits. And then there's this page 4 with King Cryptid flying to the area, and he's coming down at Huckamuck Swamp into the forested area here.
It reminds me of my old Art Adams New Mutants Special Edition stuff.
Yes.
And he knows, and so they know exactly what I'm talking about,
Exactly, yep. And that's actually one of the issues I had mentioned was a Glynis Oliver coloring over Art Adams. So it's interesting you say that, but yeah, it's that kind of thing. And I've said this too to on other people as well. But when you have more painterly pencils without strong, bold inks, you can get away with more painterly colors. But as soon as you start incorporating this very high contrast scheme of black and white with the inks, that's when you have flats that sing. Don't over muddy it up with the colors. Don't go in there with the garish airbrushing technique. Just be bold with your color choice and be true with the colors as well. When it's a yellow, it's a yellow. If it's a blue, it's a blue. Let that sing and let that line work do a lot of the heavy lifting for you. I mean, that's honestly how they used to make so many comics and just keep on that schedule. And you'd have Glynis Oliver on 20 books a month kind of a thing, and she could do that because it was just, let's get the colors out there. And maybe there's a 2-tone or a 3-tone every now and then. But don't be afraid to let that color just be that color. And now we've entered the age of digital and a lot of these books that they're kind of going for all of these
it's very easy for colors because they've got so many tools to kind of go in there. And not to put it all in the colors, there are a lot of artists that say, well, the colors is going to work that out, resolve that. This classic look that you're going for, those old school guys, they knew that all of the tonality and the modeling of value was the onus of the penciler and inker.
Exactly.
And then the colors should come in and complement that, but they didn't kind of lay it at the doorstep of the colors because they didn't have the resources.
The dynamic has shifted. The colorist is the heavy lifter on a lot of books nowadays. Yeah. And the pencils and maybe if there's inks are kind of like loose, weird, rough little things. And then the colorist is supposed to come in and define and refine all of it.
And make the quote unquote, and again, maybe that works in a lot of cases if they're all on the same page and of that mind, but when they're not on that same page and the colors comes in, say for that, where you have the flat blue for the background sky, a modern colorist, typically they're going to come in there and put clouds and they put all these values and tonal gradation.
Lens
and
flare.
Bring that forward, and you're going to say, wow, that's going to be more pronounced than the things in the foreground.
Yep. And then they start fighting each other for prominence and importance on the page. And then all of a sudden, before you know it, the storytelling doesn't even matter anymore.
Right.
And as a reader, you're just like, okay, you like the art or not. And you're just like, the story? Oh, there was a story? Where here, everything is about the story. The way the lettering works within the art is about leading the reader through the page, through the panel, down, and then across. So we hit it diagonally, and then it goes to the other one. We hit that diagonally. We see King Cryptid, and he's sleeping. We go to the other letter, the other caption. We go down to his balloon. Every single thing is about leading your eye. And if you're doing it right, the reader is subconsciously taking in the entire page as they read. Whereas there's a lot of stuff nowadays where you just have these big blocks of text and then this and then that, and nothing is spaced so that the eye is to flow. It's just more about egos fighting each other. So the writer's fighting for prominence, the artists are fighting for prominence, everyone's fighting for prominence and forgetting that this is all for the reader, you guys, the audience.
And I think that's why your role, your editorial oversight can kind of say, okay, we've all got these different objectives, but we really need to kind of corral this and bring it under this one umbrella and make a harmonious end product where where the whole thing is in service to that reading experience. And And I said that's where it's like, and again, I want to be careful because I don't want to be admonishing anyone, because sometimes it's like, hey, I've got this great artist and I got this other colors, but they don't know how to kind of manage their talent in a way that allows them to kind of say, this is what we're aspiring to, this is what we're going for, and then we can, as everyone sees, has sight of that end goal, we can kind of all kind of work in service to that, as opposed to just saying, well, I'll have some interesting portfolio pieces, but I'm not really thinking about what my role in trying to tell this story is.
Yeah, it shouldn't be like, you ever see the Do They Know It's Christmas Time video from the 80s?
Maybe.
Okay,
you mean the music video?
Yeah, the music video from Band-Aid. Yeah. Okay. So you know that part when Bono steps up to the mic, right? And he's like, well, thank God it's them. You know that part? Well, it feels like there's some books where everyone wants to be Bono and they want to step up to the mic and belt one out. And it's like, you guys got to have role players. You got to understand what you're supposed to do.
Sometimes you're just in the chorus, right?
Exactly.
You just get the cowbell, or you just play
the tambourine, you know, but
yeah.
That's important too. And everyone has to be able to go, you know what, though? It all contributes, though, to the overall and to making that great. And if everyone understands that and you're all on that kind of team, I compare a lot of this stuff to sports all the time. And everybody's got to play their position. And as soon as you get out of position, that's when mistakes happen, and that's when you lose the game. So it's that kind of thing where, with the same thing with the comic, as soon as people start stepping on each other's toes, as soon as the ego starts taking over, now the end result is the product suffers for it, and then the reader suffers for it as well.
That's right. The best team is not necessarily comprised of the best individual athletes. They are the best team, right? So, you couldn't have said it better. That's why I'm looking forward to my Downcast books. I don't know when they're going to come, but I ordered those on the last campaign. I forgot what it was, but that's the one. Like, I'm getting these series because I want to give them each the time that they deserve. Like I said, I got all my my blood realms. I'm going to say blood empires. I'm like conflating the two. And
that's
I
a
love
good
them.
title too.
Yeah, that's a good title. You know, Giordano, don't take that. No, but I love your books because I think that you understand. Like, again, you're giving them the best opportunity to showcase what they can do. And like I said, even though I see the creators there, I do see your hand kind of. There's a quality and a standard there that is just kind of. Again, it's not just nostalgia. It just feels like it's visually accessible. They read well. They feel great, and the price is great. So it's just like 5 stars as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Antoine. Really appreciate that. Even though I've offended William C., I'm giving an example. Mm-hmm. Rick Joseph says real talk. It is real talk. Yeah. But that's the thing is that, and I don't think, don't apologize for something like that either, because I think it's very helpful. I know you said you didn't want to admonish certain people or put anybody down in a way, but I don't think that's putting anybody down at all. I think that's very helpful to make them actually succeed and create a product of lasting enjoyment and really actually get their artistic vision more clearly articulated. And I think that's something that's very difficult to understand, especially when you're starting out doing this stuff. This isn't something that I was just like, oh, yeah, I started doing this. I mean, Alternative's been around for 16 years. I sucked ass when I started doing this. It was horrible. I look back at it, and it's like a good laugh, and that's about all it is. But it's a learning experience. And I learned over the course of time to try to not make the same mistakes twice, and that's all we could really do. But I wouldn't have learned any of those mistakes if I didn't have either a co-creator, another creator, a fan, a reader, whatever it might have been, asking questions, pointing something out, making me kind of think about something in a different way. And that's been very important over the years. So I think it is very and extremely important for you to bring up the things you're talking about. And if there's creators out there that choose to kind of ignore or dismiss that, or even worse, get very upset and strike back about it, then so be it. but it's stuff that does need to be said, and I think it's being said from a place of compassion and caring and love, not necessarily. I didn't hear any of your words, and even if they were directed at me, I wouldn't have heard any of those and think, oh, that's coming from a place of jealousy or trying to tear me down or whatever, just cause it's 100% correct. It really, really is, and I'd love to see.
The guys are. I'm sorry to cut you off. And the guys, they're new, and this might be their second book. And I go, okay, well, you know what? They haven't. And I come from print production. I used to be in advertising for years, so I've gone to.
Yeah.
I know. I'm sitting there looking at things, wondering why there's misregistrations with lenses and such. But having said that, I try to give them a little bit of leeway because they are people that are coming to this new, and their experiences from other areas, and So I want to be a bit forgiving in a certain sense, but I want to say, if they only, moving forward, something to keep in mind. Maybe that would probably be the best way to kind of.
That would be a great way to kind of cushion the blow at the time of a young up and coming ego. Not to crush the soul too much. But it's stuff that I find it does need to be said. It needs to be addressed, and most of the time. We will learn these things just from being overly critical of ourselves, and
they'll see the book, and they'll kind of come to those same conclusions, saying, "Hey, we needed to kind of do this here, and that way we can kind of come out with a more cohesive product that reflects the vision of the core creators and makes everyone look good at the end of the day."
Exactly. You need the coach to go in there and be like, okay, now we're going to look at the videotape, and that's essentially what that kind of thing is, to be like, let's analyze and see what did we do right, what did we do wrong, and hopefully not make that same mistake in the next time that scenario rolls around.
Weren't you doing a segment that was kind of like Campaign 101, or was that somebody else?
We did. Yeah, I was doing Comicnomics for a while. And I had stuff like that, and I had different things about setting up campaigns or books or prepping for print or all these different things. I ran through a lot of the basics of stuff. I haven't done that kind of series though in a while, but I kind of switched gears with that to do it more specific and have the feedback forum. So there's a bunch of feedback forum episodes that kind of go into it more specifically with people who come on the show and have questions here and there. But it's stuff that I find it's very important, and if you don't want to put yourself on the spot and ever come on the show and have that kind of a question, absolutely try to learn as much as you can. That's all this is about. Even when I reject submissions, I'm like, I hope you continue to work on your craft. I hope you get something out there that makes you happy, and then you strive to make something better each and every time. So the rejection isn't the end of the road, and by all means, it doesn't mean that you should stop and you should give up. If we all just gave up as soon as we failed at anything, none of us would ever accomplish anything. So stick to it, but learn as much as you can and be patient with yourself. There's so many people out there that are in such a rush. They're in a rush to get the book out. They're in a rush to get onto the campaign trail. They're in a rush to do this and be on that channel and do that and have this and have that and go. Take your time. Be patient with yourself. Learn. There's nothing wrong with learning.
Absolutely. And I'll be the first to say, hey, if whenever I'm ready to start, when I'm in the process of launching the campaign, which should be in a few months from now, I would love to get some feedback from you, and even live you want to do it, just to kind of evaluate.
Yeah, sure. Come on one of the feedback forum shows. That'd be great to see and talk to you about it.
Yeah, I take my own. To me, I'm served by that feedback. I'm not looking for praise. I'm looking for, this could be better. Is this working? All those kinds of things. Because like I said, I'm just kind of in my bubble, and I have my dog here, and he doesn't give me a whole lot of input on the quality of the work. So, and like I said, I want to make the best product that I can. I want it to be around, and someone picks it up in 20 years, they can get as much of a quality reading experience out of it as, someone that is, my mom.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Well, thank you so much, Antoine. And seriously, if you ever draw any kind of, and this goes for everybody else in the chat as well, and if you look at the show later on and you watch, I'm looking for, there's been a bunch of King Cryptid fan art pieces out there. But if you guys want to have me publish it in the cryptid sightings page, we're going to have a cryptid sightings page in every single issue. If you want to have me publish it, I am more than happy to do so. I want to publish everyone's work. I don't care if it's a stick figure. We're going to literally have, this sighting was from, Antoine in such and such place. And this is the artist's depiction of what they saw. All that kind of stuff we're going to have in, maybe 3 or 4 on a page. And I want to make that kind of thing a part of the comic book fun that we're having with this series as well. So if you ever draw any kind of King Cryptid anythings, aside from feel free to sell it and make as much money as you can with it, please send it my way, high resolution, so I could put it in the book and print it out there for you and have it published as well. But,
absolutely.
Yeah, because great stuff, man. Absolutely.
All right. Well, you have a wonderful night, Pete. It's been a pleasure, and I look forward to your next show.
Absolutely. And everybody, thank you so much, man.
It's awesome. You love you guys. You guys take care.
All right. You too, Antoine. Thank you so much, buddy. All right. Well, that's it for us tonight. What a great show. I love doing this show. I've been missing doing it, but I've been deep in the campaign fulfillment mode for the winter campaign, which is done. That's been done. And then kicking up the gear for King Cryptid. If you haven't had a chance to check out King Cryptid yet, go to kingcryptid.com. Right now the campaign just started its 6th day, and we are at 19,000. Let me see, 128? 120? No, that's not correct. Let me refresh that. 19,148 with 378 backers on board. So we are 22 backers away from 400, which will unlock a bonus for physical perk backers. I wanted to go an hour tonight, but the conversation was so great with all you guys. Really appreciate it. It was well worth it, and I definitely enjoyed it. Always great having this conversation with you guys in the chat, and of course everybody that stops by and comes on the show. And that's what I'm trying to do here, Blue Teddy. I'm just trying to have a book that's a lot of fun. It's escapism with heart. Trying to have a little bit of depth and philosophy along with a great story that hopefully keeps you guys entertained, and hopefully you have as much fun reading it as we're having making it. That's all we could ask for. But we're gonna have a mail to the king page where King Cryptid receives mail and he answers the mail. He lives inside of a cave. There's horrible Wi-Fi. So, he gets this mail and he will respond to it. And then also we're going to have that cryptid sightings page where we have a lot of you guys out there that are so artistically inclined to do so. We'll sketch anything King Cryptid or cryptid related, and we'll publish that in every issue. There's already, I think, 30-something drawings of King Cryptid out there. I got to go and tap everybody on the shoulder and be like, hey, can you send me the high res? I'd love to publish that. Anything that's fun for the book would be, I think, fun for you guys too. But that's about it. Indeed it will. Yeah. So I must have answered that question before I had, before you had asked it. But yeah, King Cryptid will be responding to his letters. 100%. You can send physical letters, or you can send email, or you can even send a tweet, and I'll pass it along to the big guy. And yeah, he'll respond to that in the issue. So yeah, just trying to do some fun stuff with that, and obviously keep the issues as well fun for you guys and entertaining. And hopefully I'm considering having either an episode of the show, or maybe even, it'd probably be better to do an episode where I actually talk about even just the log lines for some of the future upcoming issues, because there's a bunch of issues and I can just kind of put that past you guys just so you get a sense of where we're going in this series, because we're in it for the long haul. Let's see. Comics Legend says, hi Pete, if King Cryptid was a cartoon, who would you want to be the voice? If it was live action, who would you choose as an actor? Man, I would, I love Keith David's voice, but Keith David's already Goliath, right? And Spawn. Well, he could be King Cryptid too, I suppose. So something along those lines. Some kind of Keith David-y voice, He's 7'2", he's 400 pounds, he's a big guy. He would have a nice deep voice, resonating. That would be good too. Yeah, Michael Dorn would be very good as well. Yeah, something along those lines. Absolutely. But so thank you guys so much once again for joining tonight, and please, guys, check out King Cryptid if you haven't already. Really appreciate the support you guys are giving for the campaign. You've been spreading the word. You've been supporting the campaign as well. It means a lot. And I'm hoping to be back tomorrow night for the first Open Mic Monday in a month or so. So fingers crossed. Everything's good. And before I go, tomorrow, June 1st, alternacomics.com, we've got new issues. The new issues will be from the winter campaign, so if you were waiting to get them in the store, have at it. We'll have the new issues. We'll have the digital versions of those issues. We'll have the new Alterna patch, a couple of the Alterna mugs, and all that good stuff. So tomorrow, June 1st, those will be on alternacomics.com. All right, guys, thank you so much, and have a wonderful night.